Hello everyone. I want to talk to you today about something that I think is extremely important and probably urgent. So what is this? Well, I think probably like me, you've been watching the news, you've been self-isolating, some of us have quarantined, some of us have lost friends and family members to this COVID. So it's an extremely serious situation. But there seems to be something else that's happening along with this that has me deeply concerned, and especially after this weekend. So a friend of mine who lives in a nearby town, we were talking, and she told me that her neighbors across the road phoned the police on the neighbors adjacent to her. And why did that happen? So the neighbors beside her were sitting in their driveway with their children, watching their children play. And the neighbors adjacent to them, so there was a lawn between them, were in their driveway. And so they struck up a conversation, and the neighbor across the road called the police. Really? Called the police. What is happening here? Then the next thing that happened was that a family member was talking to us. And the police had been called on him by his neighbor because he was completing a construction project in his backyard. In both these cases, physical distancing was being practiced. Everything was being done according to the new rules. But the police were called. Is this Canada? Yes, it's Canada today. And it's what's happening across the world, folks. People are being arrested. People are being charged. And even think of the Oakville man with his 3 sons. They were rollerblading on a sidewalk near a park. There was no one around them. And they were charged $800 by a bylaw officer. For what? They live together. They don't need to practice social distancing. This is a father and son. They need to be family. If they're going to catch something, they're going to catch something. We're family. But let me give you some statistics, because I got stirred up. I've been pretty stirred up this last month, actually. But anyways, I was stirred up enough to kind of look at some statistics. So right now, the current world population, and I'm reading this to you because I'm not great with numbers, is 7,794,798,739 people. Nearly, rounded off, 8 billion people. COVID-19, coronavirus, cases worldwide account for 2,426,000 people. That's a lot of people. Absolutely. The deaths worldwide are 166,122 out of 800 billion people. I'm not trying to minimize death. Please don't think that. But we need proper perspective. So let me tell you something else I checked out. According to the WHO, yes, the World Health Organization, which does great time of keeping statistics, and here's what they said. That in a given year, they expect between 290,000 and 650,000 people worldwide to die from the flu. Did you hear that? 290,000 to 650,000 people a year die from the flu worldwide. How many COVID-19 deaths have there been worldwide? 166,122 people. We've never shut the world down, the world economy. People staying in their homes out of fear they'll catch a virus or a flu bug. Yes, people do catch it. People die. It happens. We will all die someday. And please hear me, I'm not minimizing the effect of death and grief on those who die. But what I am saying here is there is something bigger happening. It's something bigger. And yesterday, I really felt compelled to look, to do a bit of word study on darkness and light. So this is what I found out. Light has two aspects, the intellectual and the moral. So what does that mean? Well, intellectually, light means it represents truth. And that makes sense, right? So light represents truth. Morally, it represents holiness or right living. And the figure of darkness has similar aspects, two aspects. Intellectually, it represents ignorance and falsehood. So hear this. Darkness intellectually represents ignorance and falsehood. Morally, it represents evil. And I want to suggest to you right now that there is a darkness covering this earth of which we have never experienced before. We have had moral corruption happening universally forever. But in the last 20 years, we've seen a real upsurge in evil, in corruption particularly. So if intellectually darkness represents ignorance, then we need to come in to light. We need to understand truth, which is my passion, to expose truth. Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, chapter 5, verse 20 says this, "Woe to those who call evil good and call good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter." You know, that's basically turning upside down the good and evil. And that's been happening, as I said, universally for centuries. But in the last 25 years, it has risen exponentially. In Canada, we have morally substituted evil for good. We've done that, and it's been happening worldwide. But this, what's happening today in Canada and across the world, is a bigger picture. There is a darkness of evil that is covering the world and is a cover-up for something that is about to happen. What that is, I'm not exactly sure. But I know that it's going to affect everyone. When neighbors call the police on another neighbor for doing what is a normal activity, in fact, it isn't even what we would have called normal 2 months ago. The neighbors would just go across and talk to each other. But they're practicing what has been mandated by our government. But neighbors are told to rat on neighbors. This is like Nazi Germany. This is scary, folks, and it speaks totally of what I've been trying to say for a long time about the totalitarian government that we have come under. There is something that our government is linked to that is worldwide. And there is some overarching power or principle or participants, and maybe just a few people, I expect it's just a few people who have a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money, that are actually controlling what is happening universally. Are you hearing this? Are you hearing this? How long are we going to sit back in Canada? Are we going to allow this to continue happening for months? 6 to 18 months? After 2 months of isolation, the economy is very unlikely to come back. After 3 months, it'll be demolished. Why? Because of 166,000 deaths worldwide compared to a possible 650,000 deaths by the flu worldwide every year? We need to give our head a shake and get digging. What is behind this? Well, I hope you're not kind of going to turn me off and go, yep, okay, another conspiracy theorist. No, check out the facts. Keep searching, keep digging, and don't just take for granted everything that's on the evening news. Thanks for listening.